Here's a common situation. You have data that contains missing values where some feature was not recorded. What should you do? There are a few different approaches. The first, you could drop all of the rows that contain the missing values. Second, you could drop the columns that contain missing values. Or the third is you could replace the missing values with something like the average or the median. We've seen these before with the drop NA command, the drop command, and also the fill NA command. All three of these pandas commands are things we can use to deal with missing data. The approach that we've discussed has advantages and disadvantages. If you drop a row because it has missing values, then there's a possibility that that row contained information in the other feature observations which were not missing, and you're losing some information. The second thing is if you drop the columns with missing values, again, you're missing information. If you replace the missing values, you're making assumptions here, both about what the missing values are and how the missing values were observed. Sometimes when you have missing values, there's a consistent pattern to which values are missing, and that information can be valuable. If you replace them, you lose that information. As an illustration of drop NA versus fill NA, where Alice drives from Cullowhee to Asheville every day for work, and she records her time and position in a data frame called CAR-DF. But she forgets to record the position a few times, leading to some missing variables. There are 6 missing position observations when I do isNA.sum. So we might decide that we want to replace those missing observations with the mean of the appropriate column. In this particular data set, if we do that, we're really throwing off the data set because there's a trend here. And even though the missing observations are kind of random, there's no pattern to how we missed the data, you see that it's not reasonable to replace the missing values with the average value. This isn't to say that replacing the missing values is always a bad technique. There are definitely times where replacing the missing values with average values or some other values makes sense. If you have a lot of features, missing one feature of one observation may not be that big a deal. Or if you're dealing with something where most observations are close to the average, like a normally distributed variable, then it may be reasonable to replace the values. Finally, there are more sophisticated approaches to replacing values. This technique is called imputing or imputation. You can use other modeling approaches to replace the values and not just replace with a specific number like the average or the median. That's going to be beyond what we're able to cover, but you should know about it. And if you're interested, it's one of those things that you can search for and definitely get more information about. If you're interested in learning more about this technique and you'd like to discuss it outside of class, please let me know.